Ladies and gentlemen, I've met people who wake up one morning, feel fantastic, and say, this is going to be my breakthrough day. And sometimes it is. The sun is shining, the coffee tastes perfect, and they're ready to take on the world. But here's the question. What happens the next morning when the clouds roll in, the coffee's cold, and life throws a curveball? If the only time you take action is when you're in a good mood, your progress will be fragile, and your results will be inconsistent. Let me tell you something I've learned over the years, and I learned it the hard way. A good mood is a beautiful thing. When you wake up feeling great, when the sun is shining just right, when your favorite song plays on the radio, when the coffee is just the way you like it, it's like the whole world is smiling back at you. On those days, it's easy to get to work. It's easy to make the calls, do the exercise, read the book, meet the people. You're fired up and you feel unstoppable. But here's the reality. Those days don't last. The good mood is like the weather. It changes. Sometimes in the middle of your plans, clouds roll in. Sometimes you wake up the next day and the music isn't playing, the coffee is bitter, and you're not in the mood for anything. And if your plan for success depends entirely on that sunshine feeling, then your results will be just as unstable as your mood. You see, feelings are fickle. They're influenced by things you can't always control. The weather, other people's attitudes, even what you ate the night before. And if you've made the mistake of thinking, I'll work hard when I feel like it, then you've built your strategy on shifting sand. It's like planting a garden but only watering it on the days you feel happy. The plants don't care about your mood. They care about consistent watering. And your goals are the same way. I remember talking to a young man once who said, Jim, I'm waiting for the right feeling before I get started on my business idea. I told him, son, if you wait for the perfect feeling, you'll be waiting until you're old enough to tell stories about what you could have done. The right feeling is a bonus, but it's not the foundation. You can't count on it showing up every day, and you can't build anything solid on something so unpredictable. Now, don't get me wrong. I'm not against good moods. I love them. When they come, ride the wave. Use them to run a little farther, work a little longer, smile a little wider. But don't make the mistake of thinking they are the reason you work. The reason must be bigger than your feelings. It must be tied to your values, your vision, and your commitments. Think about the farmer. He doesn't look out the window in the morning, see the rain, and say, well, I don't feel like farming today, so I guess the crops can wait. No, he knows the work must be done whether the sun is shining or not. Why? Because the harvest depends on steady action, not on whether he woke up in a cheerful mood. The same principle applies to you and me. If we want a good harvest in our lives, in our finances, in our health, in our relationships, we have to show up and do the work whether we're whistling a tune or dragging our feet. If you wait until you feel like it, you'll spend most of your life waiting. But if you act regardless of mood, the results you get will often put you back into a good mood. So yes, enjoy the good days. Appreciate the energy, the smiles, the motivation, but don't count on them as your only fuel. Build your habits, your discipline, and your strategy on something more solid than feelings. Because feelings can change with the wind, but your commitment can be as steady as the sunrise. And that's how you win, even when the mood doesn't show up to cheer you on. Let me tell you one of the great secrets of success. Discipline will take you places that feelings will never go. I've seen people with talent, with charm, with energy, but no discipline, and they struggle year after year. Then I've seen people who weren't the most talented, weren't the most confident, but they had discipline, and they ended up building extraordinary lives. Why? Because discipline is not about how you feel, it's about what you do. See, here's the trap. We all love the days when we feel motivated. We love that rush of inspiration. You hear a great talk, you read a powerful book, you meet someone who fires you up, and suddenly you're ready to take on the world. But here's what I learned. Motivation gets you started, but discipline keeps you going. And those who rely only on motivation are like people who only eat when they're served their favorite meal. That's not how life works. Discipline means you take action, even when you don't feel like it. It's getting up early, when the bed is warm and your body says 5 more minutes. It's making that phone call when your mind says, maybe tomorrow. It's sticking to your plan when every excuse in the world seems to make sense. Discipline says, I have a standard and I will meet it, no matter how I feel right now. I've had days when I didn't feel like working, when I didn't feel like speaking, when I didn't feel like showing up, but I showed up anyway. And I'll tell you something, most of my best results didn't come on the days I felt fantastic. They came on the days I fought through resistance and kept my word to myself. That's the difference. Anybody can work when they're in the mood. Winners work when they're not. A good mood is like the wind. It can give you a push, and that's great. But discipline is the engine. The wind may come and go, but the engine runs, whether the breeze is there or not. If you rely on the wind, you'll drift. If you rely on the engine, you'll arrive. Some people say, but Jim, I just can't force myself to do things when I don't feel like it. And I say, of course you can. You've done it before. You didn't feel like going to work some days, but you did. You didn't feel like paying your bills, but you did. You didn't feel like cleaning the house, but you did. The difference between those things and your goals is simple. You've told yourself the non-negotiables in life are the things others expect from you, your boss, your landlord, your family. But the truth is, the most important non-negotiables should be the ones you expect from yourself. Discipline is really about self-respect. It's saying, I trust myself to follow through. It's proving to yourself that your word is worth something. And once you start seeing yourself as disciplined, everything changes. You stop waiting for the right mood because you know you'll act no matter what. That's power. So here's my advice. Don't just set goals, set standards. Decide in advance what you will do every day, whether you're in the mood or not. Build the habit until it becomes automatic. And when you do, you'll find that discipline actually creates more good moods. Why? Because nothing feels better than keeping a promise to yourself. Discipline is the great equalizer. It works for the young and the old, the rich and the poor, the talented and the average. It's the difference between wishful thinking and actual achievement. Feelings come and go. Discipline stays. And if you let discipline, not mood, drive your actions, there's no limit to how far you can go. One of the greatest gifts you can give yourself is to create habits that are non-negotiable. And when I say non-negotiable, I mean you do them whether you feel like it or not, whether it's raining or shining, whether you're tired or full of energy. Because here's the truth. Habits build the structure of your life, and the structure you build determines the results you get. Now, people often say, Jim, I just want to be more consistent. And I tell them consistency is not about inspiration. It's about systems. If you want to read every day, you don't wait for the day you feel curious. You schedule it. If you want to exercise, you don't wait until you feel like moving. You make it part of your routine. Your habits are the invisible architecture holding your life together, even on the days when your emotions try to pull you off track. Think about brushing your teeth. You don't say, I'll brush if I'm in the mood. No, you just do it. Twice a day, maybe more. Why? Because somewhere along the way, it became non-negotiable. You made it a standard. And it's the same with success habits, reading, planning, saving, making calls, practicing your skills. You repeat them until they're automatic, until they're not a decision you make each day, they're simply part of who you are. When something is non-negotiable, you don't spend time debating it in your head. You don't let feelings vote. Feelings will try to talk you out of it. They'll say, you deserve a break, you can do it tomorrow. One day won't matter, but one day often turns into 2, and 2 turns into a week, and before you know it, you've lost momentum. Non-negotiable habits protect you from that spiral. I remember early in my career, I decided I would read at least 30 minutes every morning, no matter what. There were mornings I was tired, mornings I was traveling, mornings I had a headache, but I kept the habit. And do you know what happened? Over a few years, I had read hundreds of books. The knowledge I gained from that one habit transformed my thinking, my business, my income. but it never would have happened if I had left it up to my mood. The beauty of non-negotiable habits is they free you from the daily struggle of decision making. You don't have to wake up and wonder, should I? You just do it. It's like the sunrise, it's going to happen whether the sky is clear or cloudy. That kind of reliability is powerful because it means your progress isn't dependent on the unpredictable ups and downs of emotion. And here's the secret. The more you stick to your non-negotiable habits, the more you trust yourself. Self-trust is one of the greatest forms of confidence. You stop doubting whether you can follow through because you've proven it over and over. You start seeing yourself as someone who finishes what you start, and that identity is worth more than any burst of temporary motivation. So here's my challenge to you. Pick a few small, meaningful actions that will move you toward your goals, and make them non-negotiable. Write them down. Put them in your schedule, and then guard them fiercely. Treat them as sacred appointments with your future self. Because at the end of the day, success doesn't belong to the person who works hard once in a while when the stars align. It belongs to the person who builds habits so solid, so automatic, that nothing, not weather, not mood, not inconvenience, can shake them. Make your habits non-negotiable, and you'll make your success inevitable. Most people spend too much time judging their progress by how they feel, and not enough time looking at the facts. And let me tell you, feelings can be some of the worst advisors you'll ever have. One day you feel on top of the world and think you're making huge progress, when in reality you might have done very little. Another day you feel tired and unmotivated and think you're getting nowhere, yet that could be the very day you took a big step forward. That's why I tell people measure your progress by your actions, not your moods. You see, moods are tricky. They can be influenced by whether you slept well, whether someone smiled at you that morning, or even what you had for breakfast, but results don't care about any of that. If you made 10 phone calls today, you made 10 phone calls, whether you felt like a champion or a zombie while doing it. If you saved $50, you saved $50, whether you were grinning or frowning when you put the money away. Actions are measurable, repeatable, and reliable. Feelings are none of those things. When you track your actions instead of your emotions, you start to see patterns that feelings would have hidden from you. I've had days when I thought I was wasting my time, only to look back at my notes and see that those were some of my most productive days. Why? Because feelings lie, but the numbers don't. If your goal is to get in shape, the question is not, do I feel fit? The question is, did I exercise today? Did I follow my eating plan? That's how you know whether you're moving forward or not. Now, here's something important. Measuring your progress doesn't just tell you where you are. It keeps you honest. It's easy to convince yourself that you've been working hard when you're going by mood. But when you have it written down, the truth is right there in black and white. You either did the work or you didn't. No excuses, no illusions. I remember a young man once telling me he was discouraged because he just wasn't getting anywhere. I asked him if he was keeping track of his efforts. He said no, he was just going by how it felt. I told him, that's like a pilot flying without instruments. One cloud comes by and you'll think you're lost. I made him write down everything he did for 30 days, calls made, letters sent, meetings held, hours studied. At the end of the month he could see clear progress, even on days he had felt defeated. That one shift in perspective changed his entire attitude. When you measure progress this way, something else happens. You build momentum. Each action you take becomes a win, no matter how small. You start focusing on the controllables, the things you can do today instead of being at the mercy of your ever-changing emotions. And over time, those small wins stack up into real results. So here's my advice. Keep a record. Write it down. Track it daily. Whether it's a notebook, a spreadsheet, or a wall calendar, find a way to see your progress in tangible form. Because when you can see the steps you've taken, it's a lot harder for a bad mood to convince you that you're standing still. The truth is, feelings can inspire you, but they can also mislead you. Actions tell the real story. And if you measure your progress by what you do instead of how you feel, you'll keep moving forward long after your moods have come and gone. One of the biggest mistakes people make is believing they'll always be ready to perform at their best. They think every day will be full of energy, excitement, and clarity, but life doesn't work like that. Some days you wake up tired. Some days the phone rings with bad news. Some days you simply don't feel like doing anything. And if you don't have a plan for those days, they'll rob you of your momentum. That's why I tell people prepare for the low energy days before they show up. See, when you're feeling great, it's easy to make big promises to yourself. You say, I'll work out every day. I'll make 20 calls a day. I'll read a chapter every night. And you mean it because in that moment, it feels possible. But here's the key. The real test of commitment is not how you act on your best days. It's what you do on your worst days. If you don't plan for the lows, you'll get blindsided. I like to think of it like flying an airplane. Pilots don't just prepare for sunny skies. They train for turbulence. They have checklists for when things go wrong. They know what to do if visibility drops or an engine fails. That's why they can keep the plane on course, no matter the weather. In your own life, you need that same kind of checklist, a strategy for when your motivation runs low. One of the best ways to do this is to decide in advance on your minimum standards. Let's say your goal is to write 1,000 words a day. On a high energy day, you might do 1,500, but on a low energy day, you commit to at least 300. Or maybe your exercise goal is 45 minutes. On low days, you promise yourself you'll at least walk for 10. The point is to keep the chain unbroken. Even a small step on a bad day keeps your momentum alive. Why is this so important? Because stopping completely is dangerous. When you stop, it's much harder to start again. I've seen people take just one day off when they didn't feel like it. And suddenly that one day turns into a week, then a month. Momentum is fragile. It's much easier to keep it going than to rebuild it. I remember a man telling me, Jim, I fell off my workout routine and now I just can't get started again. I asked him how it happened. He said, I missed one day because I was tired, then two because I was busy, and before I knew it, I hadn't gone for weeks. If he had done something on those first tired days, even a few push-ups, even a short walk, he would have kept the habit alive. You have to think of discipline like a muscle. If you stop using it, it gets weaker. But if you keep exercising it, even with small efforts, it stays strong. Low energy days are not a reason to stop. They're an opportunity to prove to yourself that you can keep going under any condition. And believe me, the confidence you build from acting on a bad day is worth more than any victory you have on a good day. So, decide right now what your bad day plan is. Write it down. Make it simple. Make it doable. And make it non-negotiable. Because the truth is, life will give you plenty of low energy days. But if you prepare for them in advance, they won't have the power to knock you off course. The champions are not the ones who only perform when they feel great. They're the ones who show up when it's hard, when it's inconvenient, when it's uncomfortable, and still get something done. That's how you build a life of consistency. And consistency is where the real rewards live. Life will always test the foundation you're standing on. It's easy to feel confident when the sun is shining, the bank account looks good, and everybody's smiling at you. But storms will come. They always do. And if your entire strategy depends on the conditions being perfect, then the moment things get rough, your progress will collapse. That's why you have to build your life on something more stable than emotions or circumstances. You have to build it on strategy. Now, strategy is different from mood. A mood is how you feel today. A strategy is how you plan to win over the long term. A mood is the breeze. A strategy is the ship's navigation system. The breeze may change directions or stop altogether, but the navigation system keeps you moving toward your destination. Without it, you'll drift wherever the wind takes you. And drifting is dangerous. You might end up somewhere you never wanted to be. I like to think of it like a pilot flying through bad weather. The pilot doesn't just say, well, it's cloudy, I guess we'll turn back. No, they trust their instruments. They follow the plan. They've trained for storms. They know that if they stick to their course, they'll break through the clouds eventually. Your goals are the same way. When the clouds of discouragement, fatigue, or setbacks roll in, you've got to trust the systems you've built. The problem is, most people live reactively. They wake up and let the day tell them what to do. They let their feelings, the news, or somebody else's agenda steer their life. But the successful ones, they live proactively. They've decided in advance what matters, what actions they'll take, and what direction they're going. That's strategy. And here's the beauty of a solid strategy. It protects you from making short-term emotional decisions that sabotage your long-term progress. You know the kind of decisions I mean: skipping your workout because you're tired, blowing your budget because you're stressed, quitting your project because you had a bad week. When you've got a clear strategy, you can say, this is just a rough patch. My plan still works. I'll keep moving forward. But strategy doesn't just happen. You have to build it. You have to sit down and ask yourself, what do I want in 1 year, in 5 years? What steps will get me there? What will I do daily, weekly, monthly? And then you commit to those steps, not just when you feel like it, but always. That's what makes it unshakable. I remember a young entrepreneur telling me, Jim, I'm worried I'll lose motivation. I told him, don't depend on motivation. Depend on a plan. Motivation is a bonus. A plan is a requirement. If you've got a good plan and you stick to it, motivation has a funny way of showing up more often because you keep seeing results. Think of your strategy as the foundation of your house. You wouldn't build your home on shifting sand just because the weather looks good today. You'd build it on rock, knowing storms will come. The same goes for your life. Build on habits, routines, and systems that can withstand bad moods, bad news, and bad days. When you have that kind of strategy, you become steady. People look at you and wonder how you keep going when things get tough. It's simple. You're not relying on the weather. You're not relying on the breeze. You're relying on the engine, the compass, and the map. And that means no matter what happens, you keep moving toward the life you want. That's the secret. Don't live like a sailboat that only moves when the wind is right. Be the ship with its own power, its own direction, and its own plan. Because storms don't last forever. But those who have a strong strategy, and when the sky's clear, you'll still be on course, closer than ever to your destination.